Well, I'm assuming that Paul might be on too high of a level professionally to.
I doubt it. Whatever you're about to say, I'm going to say nope.
To let us know his thoughts on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Did you put them through the list before they got married?
Not, and I feel bad. I've got texts from friends of mine recently. And they're like, "Did you see what happened yesterday?" I'm like, I am not in this.
Right.
I've only seen it. My only involvement has been I went to a coffee shop recently and I saw the tip jars were Team Amber and Team Johnny.
Oh my gosh!
And Team Johnny had a lot more tips in it. So I'm thinking whatever it is, the public sentiment in Springfield was leaning toward Johnny. But I don't know a lot about it. And I've seen maybe one of the best memes of all time, which is the Amber Alert, which is the turd in the bed, which I understand is that's funny. I don't care who you are. That's funny. But no, I really don't know a lot about it to opine about it, and certainly, and one of the things that psychologists have to be careful about is opining about public figures that they have not personally clinically examined.
Right. Sure.
Yes,
but I'm just saying. There's a lot of shit.
They should have talked to you before they got married.
Yeah.
and after and after the divorce, I mean, I could still talk to them. I'd really love to talk to both of them. Yeah. Based on the little bit I've seen, you know what? There are ways to prevent that kind of rancor and awfulness. And
I think that was more of my overarching question. I'm kind of just kidding about the specifics of their case, but it is probably something you've dealt with a lot over the years. Mm-hmm. Is just this kind of toxicity in relationships. Do you think it's more than ever, just in general? Have you seen, say, over the scope of the last 10, 20 years? Or do you think it's always been maybe this bad here and there? Not that all relationships are bad, but you know what I mean?
Not that all relationships are bad.
You see it more maybe just because we're talking. Can we talk better now than we used to 60 years ago? I mean, that's kind of an obvious question, but
I think we're talking more. I'm not sure we're talking better,
right?
In a lot of ways.
That's a good point.
And I think we can learn to think first and talk much better than we have, and the evidence is pretty clear about that. I mean, I don't think human nature hasn't changed, and we are incredibly good at self-justification. In fact, that's pretty much our prime motive. Number one is to justify ourselves rather than look at ourselves and say, what could I have done? What should I do differently? Our go-to modus operandi. Sorry, Jody, busted out the Latin, but
I think he knows that one.
He knows that one. MO. Is to justify ourselves. That is the first place we go. Because and you think about. There's a thing called cognitive dissonance. Folks are probably familiar with. It's one of my favorite psychological theories of all time because it explains so much of human behavior. Because, essentially, it's what would commonly be called rationalization. We can find justification for almost anything we do to another human being and believe it.
Yeah.
And come to believe it over time. We'll fill in the blanks with all kinds of nonsense, what looks like to an external observer to be nonsense, in order to justify ourselves as a good and deserving and kind and loving person, even though everybody in the room knows you're an asshole.
Right.
In that circumstance. And so anyway, I think we need to learn to talk better, think better and talk better.
Yeah.
And there are ways to do that. But it takes something that I like to talk a lot about, which is emotional intelligence. And we have, I think, in many ways fallen off the cliff with regard to emotional intelligence, self-awareness. We have everything in our culture in many ways is designed to distract us from being centered, from being present with ourselves first and foremost before anything else. And we have 24/7 nonstop bright lights flashing, social media, everything you can imagine to distract us from the hard work of being present with ourselves. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of everything else regarding emotional intelligence. If you don't have that, You can't have real empathy, I don't believe, without first having real self-awareness. How can you?
Right.
You know, and it's the shop-worn phrase, but the whole idea of, you know, the mask for yourself before your kids. But it's true. Until you can know and care for yourself, probably going to be pretty shitty at taking care of anybody else and knowing anybody else. You know, I saw on your bathroom, you know, something along the lines of, you know, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to know, to love and be loved in return. And even underlying that is, you know, to know yourself. Take the risk of knowing yourself, loving yourself before you can love someone else. So I have some serious questions about Amber Heard's and Johnny Depp's ability to love themselves.
Yes.
You know,
Right.
But that's a whole other.
That's a whole other podcast.
Whole other thing.
That's a whole other thing.
Tune in live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central.
On the Unsung Screamers Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Twitter.
And check out our Unsung Screamers podcast.
Wherever you get your podcasts.